You have 90 days to reinvent your career.
That's right. The great lock-in is upon us. And if you don't lock in, you might get locked out.
All right, easy. But in all honesty, we are going to be talking about tips and tactics to get you where you want to be in the next 3 months.
Let's get into it.
Before we lock in, Kyle, these past few weeks we've been spending a lot of time talking about where I can level up at work. I think it's time you do some self-improvement too.
Fair enough. Honestly, sometimes it feels like the pace of change at work is outpacing my skills, and I know I'm not alone. These days, capabilities matter more than credentials. That's why I've been upskilling with Udemy.
Really? What have you been focused on?
I'm doubling down on my chief of staff role, so I started a corporate strategy course that has over 30,000 reviews. That kind of credibility is what I need to sharpen my edge at work.
Makes sense. Whether it's AI, data science, communication, or leadership, Udemy guides you through the learning experience, and you get access to their expert instructors to ask questions to real humans. The result? The skills you gain are practical and built for the real world.
Exactly, and with Udemy's annual subscription, you can keep building the right skills whenever you need them. It's flexible and makes it easy to stay ahead.
So if you want to level up, check out udemy.com/personal-plan. That's udemy.com/personal-plan and use code PMLE14 at checkout for a free 14-day trial.
That's udemy.com/personal-plan, code PMLE14. Your next chapter starts here. Kayla, have you heard about the great lock-in trend that is sweeping through TikTok?
Well, okay, I actually did, but I did not hear it in the context of work.
What context did you hear?
The context of the great lock-in is very like transform your mind and your body and your spirituality in the next 100 days, whatever it is.
So what I'm doing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Sure,
I'm
sure.
totally locked in. Well, the great lock-in trend in terms of work is this idea that from September 1st through the end of the year, that's the official start of lock-in.
Okay, cool. So we're 90 days, or what are we?
Well, like all millennials, we're a little late to the trend.
Sure.
We had to vet it first. September 1st, the end of the year, or like the final quarter, the last 90 days, the last 60 days, basically at the end of the year where you really focus on achieving what you want to achieve by the end of the year and setting yourself up for the next year. So not waiting for New Year's to set New Year's resolutions, finding goals right now, acting on them, and setting yourself up for success. This trend has blown up on TikTok, which there's some irony that TikTok is like the just major distraction machine. Talking about locking in. I feel like if you learned about it from TikTok, things aren't going well. Like step one is delete TikTok. But that's what I want to talk about with you all today is the great lock-in and how to achieve what you need to achieve in the next 90 days when it comes to your career.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about like what you're seeing as the environment in which this is happening, because I feel like we've been spending years talking about how work-life balance, like having boundaries at work, like where did this come from, especially on TikTok? I mean,
So I think there's two kind of high-level contexts in which locking in, the great lock-in, is more powerful now than ever. The first is, as we've talked about in the Quiet Promotion episode, that we are in a low hire, low fire economy. Like Jerome Powell literally said that, the Fed chair. I'm like, oh, he must be listening to my last email. Low hire, low fire. So basically, there is more opportunity for you to stay in your job because they're not hiring more people. And so the opportunities that you find aren't going to be given to some new person coming in. They're going to be given to people that, quote unquote, lock in, want the opportunities.
Right.
We talked about the quiet promotion. If you go do that, you should be compensated. So we're going to help you figure out that piece on today's episode. But just in general, low hire, low fire. So there's more opportunities out there. The other interesting thing in this context is that the wage premium, the amount of money you get in as a percentage increase in your salary for leaving your job and job hopping has shrunk to its lowest in a long, long time.
Yeah.
So we're actually seeing people, there's not really a benefit to job hopping purely on the compensation front, which again, circling back, means you have more opportunity in your current role now than ever, just based on how the economy is structured. The second high-level context I want to talk about that makes locking in very, very important right now is work slop.
Yes, work slop.
Work
Love
slop.
this.
It walks amongst us.
Yeah.
It's very terrifying. If you're not familiar with work slop, we're basically just throwing every buzzword at you.
Yeah.
Work slop is when people just use AI to they just chat GPT, like raw dog chat GPT, and then don't filter it at all. don't put their own thoughts and send it over. So like you'll get a Slack that's like, you obviously just literally wrote this in ChatGPT, didn't look at it, sent it to me.
Yeah.
An email that's obviously AI, a document that's obviously AI, a deck that's obviously AI. There is slop everywhere. And I think now there's more distraction. There's more slop everywhere. The premium for original, authentic, like deep focused work and impact is higher now than ever because most people are getting carried away with AI slop. We're working in a context that has more distractions now than ever. A Microsoft Work Trend Index report said the average person is coming across 117 emails a day, 153 team messages, which actually that's quite low.
That's
I feel
lower
like
than expected.
Morning Brew, we're in the thousands every day.
That's
57% of meetings are now ad hoc, and the average time between a ring, a ping, and a distraction in the current workplace, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So locking in can also be about finding ways to like box all of that stuff out and actually do impactful work. And you're going to be rewarded for that now more than ever because of these two meta contexts.
In an ideal world, I agree with you.
Okay.
I think in the context of what we've been talking about in the past, like even our Quiet Promotions episode last week, like the ideal is that you're able to be the one that's the most locked in. You're the one that's not doing the AI slop. Like you're eliminating
you got
distractions.
Zins in your back pocket.
Sure,
you are locked in.
Let's do all the buzzwords. You're locked in and you're doing more work and you're doing the most and you're getting rewarded for it because you're differentiating yourself. I think that opportunity to differentiate yourself is greater than it's been in a long time.
Yeah, agreed.
I also think that people are being taken advantage of for that as well. Like when we're talking about quiet promotions, we're talking about people getting the job without getting the title or the pay raise.
Yeah.
And so I think what's important here today is, can we talk about how to do all of those things, lock in, remove distractions, get the good work done, and get recognized for it, which I think is going to be harder than ever and more important than ever.
Yeah, totally agree. So let's help everyone reinvent their career in 90 days. Super easy, low lift task. We're going to,
super chill.
Really, really easy. So I want to walk people through a 90-day plan. And I know we thought about how to do this individually.
I think we have two slightly different approaches, perhaps.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So let's start with I'm going to call the pre-lock-in phase, the loading phase.
Sure.
So you're listening to Per My Last Email. You're like, yes, I want to lock in. I want to crush the rest of 2025. I want to set myself up for 2026. Where do I start? This is where you start. The first thing you should do is go re-review your mid-year performance review and understand what were the feedback that your manager had for you. What did they tell you to start doing? Have you started doing it? If not, start. What did they tell you to stop doing? Make sure that you kind of remember what the last kind of solid performance review you had with your manager was all about, so that when you think about the end of the year performance review that's coming up in 60 days, 90 days, whenever you do it, you know what you're addressing. So I think that's step one. Step two is have a convo with your manager. Maybe don't knock down their door and be like, I'm locking in, but go have a convo with your manager about kind of the explicit goals, the explicit things you want by the end of the year, by the time you have your next performance review, whether that's a promotion, whether that's a comp increase, have that conversation early so you don't get quiet promoted. Third thing is start collecting your wins. So go find your wins from the previous year, write these down in a document. People call it a win document, a brag document. I think the best framework for this is to do problem, action, metric. So what was the problem you saw? What action did you take to solve it? And then what metric? What increased? What decreased? How did you improve the situation? And start building that list. Again, sharing that with your manager ahead of time, I think can be really effective. And then the last thing I would say is before you lock in, the key thing to do is to understand what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
So identify the one or the two needle moving projects you can realistically complete by the end of the year and really get hyper focused on nailing those. Maybe call your shot and tell your manager, these are the two things I'm going to finish by the end of the year that are really important to the company. And if I do that, I'd like to be, have this title and have this comp increase. So start the conversation. Don't just start locking in everywhere without having a conversation with your manager first.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think if we're talking about pre-lock-in phase, this just occurred to me. So apologies as I work through this metaphor.
Yeah.
But it kind of reminds me of finals, at school. There's finals week or whatever, where you have a million really high impact things you have to do before you get your final grade at the end of the year. And you shouldn't be just like working on everything you possibly could at once. You have to create a schedule. You have to create like a plan for how you're going to tackle 4 or 5 big separate things. And if you're focusing on getting 1 or 2 extra credit points and that's taking up 3 days of your time, you're spending your effort incorrectly. So for that first phase, my like big theme for that was ruthless prioritization.
Yeah.
So it's understanding what is important to you and then figuring out how to prioritize those things. So for me, I had identify 3 areas you want to focus on at work specifically. So for example, I'm kind of doing this right now. Like I'm in great lock-in mode. I didn't realize I was doing it.
No, I noticed you had a swagger about you. I was like, dude, Kaila locked in.
I am locked the F in. But Q4 is a really big like quarter for me in terms of like output revenue. And so for example, I want to be more, I have 10 different projects with 10 different variations of people that I'm working with. And I foresee challenges if I'm not very proactive about communication with each of those groups.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did is that's an area that I want to focus on in my lock-in period. But before we get more into like the actual lock-in phase, something that I want to, at least for me, highlight is like, when I hear lock-in, I think of like big hours, I think of like grind set. It's all about FaceTime. You're there
Hustle
9,
culture.
Right. And I don't think it has to be that. I think that the unlock here, pun not intended, is the lock-in should be about impact, not about input. And I think that...
Okay.
I know. I wrote it down and I double underlined that shit.
You got to trademark that.
Yeah. So it's about impact, it's not about input. And I think that when you're at this pre-phase, like identifying the 3 areas or whatever, the areas that you want to focus on, remember that you only need to do a few things to make a big impact as long as you're prioritizing effectively.
Yeah. I think this is, I couldn't agree more with your point. And I think whether you're participating in the great lock-in or not, the number one thing I think most people can work on in their career is understanding just what you said, which is like, it's not about input, it's about impact, and why people feel like they're distracted or that work is fragmented or they're doing a million things is because they haven't understood or figured out what things actually move the needle. So everything presented to you, a Slack, an email, a ring, a ping, feels like, oh, that's a great idea. I should go do that.
Yeah.
So you're buzzing around with really no direction. The people I've seen grow the most in their career, deliver the most impact, have found the 3, the 5 levers that actually move the business forward, that actually move their career forward. And they focus 80, 90% of their time just doing those things, and they say no to everything else. So I couldn't agree more. Before you lock in, that's the big tagline. Before you lock in, understand the things that actually make an impact in your job and focus on those. So I love that. Well done. Please trademark that frame.
Perfect. And we'll be right back after this. Okay, back to the show.
Should we move into now?
The lock-in phase.
Once you've done the pre-work, once you've loaded the system, you're ready to lock in, what should you do?
Yeah, so I have a few things. This is, if step 1 was about ruthless prioritization, step 2 is about execution.
Yep.
So there's a few things that I think you should be doing. First is when you've identified those 3 areas that you want to work on, is under that, like sub-bullet, is 3 to 5 daily or weekly habits that you want to implement in order to make that area easier for you.
We sound like just productivity bros.
No, I know.
I gotta say it out loud.
Okay, well, so it's funny that you say that because, so the one way that I've done this in the past is through habit trackers, which really is like a productivity bro thing. But it really does work.
We have Tim Ferriss with us.
No. It's not. But it's like, okay, so for example, let's say I want to be a more proactive communicator with all these projects. So one of my habits would be Monday morning, I need to write a weekly recap update to all of those various Slack channels of all the projects that I'm in.
Yeah.
So it's what happened last week? Where are we? What needs to get done this week? Great job, everyone. Look at this amazing work that design did on this project. Like everyone say congrats to Alyssa or whatever.
Yeah.
And another, maybe a weekly example of that would be like at the beginning of and end of every day, I need to spend 5 minutes identifying who I need to talk to that day and, what needs to get done in those projects so that I can be more proactive in my communication with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think proactivity is obviously really important to this concept of the great lock-in. Something that I personally do that has just now become a habit is on Sunday, I carve out like 2 or 3 hours and I think about like, okay, like what needs to happen this week?
Yeah.
And I'm talking like there's like 3 or 4 bullets. It's not a million things. It's like if I can move these 3 or 4 things forward this week, that's really, really successful.
Yeah.
What are those things? And I literally like think and I write them out like this is what needs to happen. Here's like the disparate parts that make that happen. Yeah. And I send that to Robert, my boss, every single Sunday.
That's
we
nice.
have a check-in on Monday and it's like a vibe check of like, is this the stuff that actually matters? Did I get this right? That habit on Sunday, which like I get the like work-life balance. I don't want to work on Sunday. Totally fair. How I view this is actually taking 3 hours on Sunday saves me like 10 hours during the week. The worst feeling is waking up on Monday being like, fuck, like what do I have to do? Then you feel scrambled, you feel rushed, you're stressed, you're not doing your best work. I would rather spend 3 hours on Sunday and then like even sleep in and come to the office a little late on Monday, knowing that I know what I need to do that week. That has been a game-changing tactic for me. So if you haven't started doing that, I think the Great Lock-In is a great place to start doing that.
Yeah, and I also think that's something you could do on Friday afternoon. You know,
exactly.
Like if you want to continue to hold those boundaries and have your weekend, like there's time you can carve out for that stuff. That isn't necessarily on Sunday afternoon. So I agree with that. I guess what other tips for that execution lock-in phase do you have?
Yeah, so Amanda Getz, who is an entrepreneur, she has a book now. She used to present to Kaila and I's cohorts at Morning Brew Learning. She had something called like the 3 to-dos today, which I thought was really powerful. There's another great book called Make Time by John Zaratsky, which like if you are interested in what me and Kaila are talking about, which I hope you are because you're listening to the podcast, but you're not like a hustle bro, productivity bro, this is like the approachable book for this stuff. And it's had a profound impact on my career. So Make Time by John Zaratsky. He talks about one highlight a day. And basically that's like the one focus for the day. The theme of both of those strategies, 3 to-dos today or one highlight, is that less is more.
Yeah.
And if you try to accomplish every single thing every single day, you end up just focusing on stuff that doesn't matter. You're not prioritizing properly, but you do only have so much energy you can put into one thing. And so I think every day just having like one thing that you're like, if I accomplish this or 2 or 3 things, but I would not go past 3. If I accomplish these things, that is a successful day. Write those down on a sticky note like every morning. Like this is what I'm going to accomplish. If something comes up that doesn't allow me to accomplish these, I say no.
Yeah.
Like that's how I'm going to prioritize. That's been incredibly effective for me as well. So less is more.
So I know we were just joking about the productivity bro thing, but
Yeah.
I do think that this is a good opportunity to talk about one of my favorite topics,
Yes.
which is, you laughed at me earlier when I mentioned it, the bujo.
Yeah, I literally have no idea what a bujo is.
So it's bullet journal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there was an era in my life where I was obsessed with bullet journaling. I like literally would the first of every month, like design a really ornate, like monthly.
I feel like you were doing this when we first met. Yeah.
Yes. And it was like, I probably did it for like 3 or 4 years, every single month. I was out here with a ruler and like highlighters, like coloring shit. But that part was excessive perhaps, but the part that was really, really helpful was the to-do list, the monthly tracker, the habit tracker, all these different elements that allowed me to ruthlessly prioritize, see what I've done. And the thing that I like the most is there's this element where you have a to-do list and you don't cross anything off. Instead, it's like if it's a bullet, you put an X on the bullet if you completed it. If you did not complete it that day, you do a little caret and you carry that over to the next day. And so it's one of those things that it's really, really clear for you to see exactly what still is on your plate, how to prioritize effectively. And I think that is, and that thing could have been, third on your list, but it goes to the top, right? It's the first thing you put in for the next day.
So like some sort of system that allows you to like categorize your priorities by most important to least important, keep it tight. And then some system where you're like, okay, I got to all of them. Perfect. Next day. Or, oh, I didn't. Carry it over. That needs to happen tomorrow. Yeah.
And again, I don't think that like the lock-in needs to be like, I'm working crazy hours. I'm doing everything. It's like, what are the 3, 4 most important things I need to do today that can move the needle on my goals?
Yeah. Ironically, if you figure out the things that move your career and the business forward the greatest, you actually need to work less hours to have more of an impact.
Potentially, yeah.
So like if you figure that out, it actually unlocks work-life balance. If you have no idea what you're doing and you think everything's important, you're never going to have balance because you're going to be doing everything trying to make an impact. The other thing I want to talk about, again, this is like, I think basic, but really, really impactful, is time boxing. And there's a very famous saying in politics, which is like, don't show me your campaign promises, show me your budget. Like, you can say this is important, but did you give money to it?
Right.
I think the same thing can be said about your career. Like, don't tell me what you're going to do, show me your calendar. And so if you are not making time for these high priority things, you're going to fall into a trap where you have nothing on your calendar.
Yep.
You're just kind of sitting at your desk. Maybe you're working. Slack message comes in. Email comes in. Oh, have I ate beef jerky today? I haven't. I'm going to go to the kitchen and get a little beef jerky. Oh, I'm thirsty. And all of a sudden, 3 hours has gone by.
Yep.
Time boxing is so impactful and it's so simple, which is on Sunday, when you know your priorities, go into your calendar, find empty space or make empty space and block 2 hours of time and then work during that time. You don't need to accomplish it, but it has to be work. I know Jerry Seinfeld used to do this for writing every day, where he'd time block like writing jokes, and he'd go sit at his desk, and he's like, if inspiration doesn't come to me, I can't write. I just sit there. I'm not allowed to do anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really powerful framework. The other thing from social science that's impactful, like psychologically, is if-then statements. So instead of being like, I need to accomplish this big goal, you just say, if my calendar says to work for 2 hours on this goal, then I do that.
Yeah.
And like, that's very contained. It's very easy to understand. They've done studies around this where that helps you move the needle in like a kind of a scalable, sustainable way. You don't feel burned out chasing this big goal. So I think time boxing, super important. If you're not doing that, like, you should 100% like press pause, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Go time box your calendar right now.
Regardless of lock-in or not, you know,
Yes.
like I think it's something I do, and it's very, very useful. When I stick to it, sometimes I'll have something in my calendar and I'll be like, I don't really want to do that right now. Like, I'm going to push that to tomorrow. But it is very, very useful. And I think that brings up a good point, which is like, embrace the constraints. And I think one of the things why this great lock-in is so enticing and so potentially effective is that it sets an end date. You only have 90 days. You only have 100 days to completely reinvent yourself, to completely reinvent your career. Like, that feels much more manageable than like, well, it's the first day of the rest of my life, you know, like whatever, I could start tomorrow. And so I think there's something about this constraint that's very helpful, but I think you can also apply that in a mini way. So the time boxing is an effective mini constraint. I know that I have 2 hours this week to talk about, you know, whatever this project. And so I'm going to spend this 2 hours really focused because I don't have any other time for it. And I think that where you can, like, eliminate distractions and embrace constraints is a really powerful combination that can get you kind of anywhere.
I totally agree. I love this power of constraints. I also love with time boxing, which is like, it kind of breaks it down where you see like, okay, I don't need to accomplish this all like in today. Like, I have a 2 hour block. I'm going to move it forward. I'm going to have a 2 hour block next week. I'm going to move it forward. It breaks it down. We talked about this on like the stress optimization episode, which is like, there's a right amount of stress. For me, time boxing helps you get to that optimal stress where you're not like, oh my God, I have 2 hours and I have to finish all of it. I have 2 hours, I can move it forward. But you don't have nothing on your calendar where you're like, I'm not really stressed about it. I don't have to do it. It'll just all happen. So time boxing helps you get in like the right psychological state to, I think, do your best work. Any other tips or tactics for the great lock-in?
Yes. So if we talked about phase 1 is ruthless prioritization or the pre-lock-in phase 2 is execution or the actual lock-in phase. I think phase 3, which I think is also within that phase, is communication of wins. So I think especially now when people are expecting their employees to do more with less, how do you turn the great lock-in into like measurable change or acceleration of your career?
How do you turn it into the great promotion or the great salary increase?
Exactly. And that's effective communication of what you're doing. And so I think this is, if you have 90 days, like, let's be obnoxious for those 90 days with your boss about like, this is my plan, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've done, and this is the impact that it's made on the company, on you, on the team, you know, on coworkers, whatever it is. Like, you need to be so crystal clear on the impact of everything that you're doing, and you need to be so comfortable telling that to people. Otherwise, I don't know, if a tree falls or whatever.
Well, also, it's just like at the end of the year, I can't even remember what I did.
Right.
So, like, your boss is not going to remember what you did if they're not sitting at home at night making your win list for you.
Yeah.
So you do need to communicate that to them in a way that helps you achieve what you want to achieve, and communicate how it's impacting the business, which I think a lot of people miss. Like that is the theme that you need to hit on when you're communicating those wins.
Yeah. Without it, there's no point, right? Because it's like, oh, great, you did all this stuff. Maybe you learned a ton. Maybe you moved the business forward. But if you're not communicating those wins, those wins didn't count.
Yeah, I totally agree. Can I add one more little tactic?
Okay.
Kind of outside of work, but when I think about what's like tripped me up when I'm trying to really lock in, really move my career forward, sometimes it's less about the work and it's more about like the distractions outside of work. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm first moved to New York. It's like, I'm so excited to be here that I'm out till like 3 a.m. on a city bike eating pizza every night. Right. Like, then I'm tired. Or I'm like going out with friends because I'm meeting all these new people and I'm drinking more than I normally would. And then I'm like, show up and we have all been there. You're hungover and you're like, today's a wash.
Yeah.
Yep, nah,
you're like, no, I'm going to be moving tabs back and forth.
I'm just clicking boxes, unclicking them. Like it's going to happen tomorrow. The more like it's going to happen tomorrow days you have during the great lock-in, like you're just not going to actually accomplish what you want. So I'm not telling you like, don't drink. I'm not telling you go to bed early every night. Because I don't do either of those things. But I think while you're in this like season of change and we've put constraints around it, which is like the next 90 days, like maybe try to do that. Like maybe don't go out to drink, skip a happy hour, catch up with your friends in the new year. Like try, pick one thing, which might be like, I'm going to commit to like 5 of 7 nights getting 8 hours of sleep. I think stuff like that is actually the thing that often derails people from this. And so I just want people to be cognizant of that. Maybe there's one thing that you want to kind of pull back a little. Now is a great season to do that.
Interesting. I fully disagree with that take.
Kayla's like, get hammered.
Drink.
Don't sleep.
I think I understand the sentiment.
No,
I understand the sentiment, right? It's like you should be taking care of yourself regardless. But I think that there's things that fill your cup that like help are additive.
Yeah. I'm not saying they need to be those specific things. If it's additive and is helping you,
right?
By George, keep doing it.
No, but I understand where it's like you should show up as your best self.
Yeah.
And I think the things that do that probably aren't getting wasted on a Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously I'm not saying
if they are, email us because I got
right.
your
that would be crazy. But like, the happy hour with friends or like going to a play, every like the things that make you come to work as your best self and then be able to effectively prioritize and set boundaries and get stuff done. Like, I think those are the things that you should be doing more of, not less of.
Yes. And totally agree. Like, don't go full monastic mode and be like, text your friends like, I am participating in the great lock-in, so you will not see me for 90 days.
Yeah.
I hope our friendship can continue in 2020. Like, don't be a weirdo.
No,
still see your friends, still hang out. Just like, if there is a thing that you're like, I'm showing up to work and like, it's just not it today because X. Yeah. Think about how to lower X for 90 days.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
I think that's everything.
Did we just lock the F in?
I think we did.
I think we just locked the F in.
I think we locked the F in.
I know you just locked the F in, so we want to hear about what you're trying to achieve by the end of the year or any other tips or tactics we missed for the great lock-in. So email us per my last email at morningbrew.com. We would love to hear from you. While you're there, you might as well go to Spotify, hit 5 stars, helps the show grow, makes me and Kayla feel good. Do that for us.
Review us.
Yes, please review us. Do it for a friend. Thanks for listening. Let's roll the credits.
Let's do it.
Our producer is Michaela Heck.
Our technical director is Kelsey Jones.
Our audio engineer is Brittany DeTaco.
And our president is Devin Emery.
This show is a production of Morning Brew. Go lock in, y'all.